Hi, everyone. Hang on a second. Let me find Cindy. Okay, Cindy, you are promoted to panelist. So good. Welcome, everyone. This is our open Q&A session for the Sexuality by Design class. I'm going to do my best to tackle your remaining questions. I've got questions posted and charts posted. If you posted or sent us your chart, rest assured we took your birth information off. So try not to make it too obvious who you are. But at the same time, I got to use your name because otherwise how am I going to address you when I address your questions? So we're going to look at some charts. We're going to look at some last minute questions that you guys have. I'm going to, one of the questions that you guys sent in was a really powerful question, probably what I would consider to be the most important question that we should all be talking about in the context of human design. And I'm looking forward to sharing. So Cindy, before I move over, are we good? Is there anything we need to talk about before I push the buttons, all the buttons I need to push?
I'm just wondering, you're going to share your screen, correct?
I will share my screen. Yeah, because I have a bunch of different things that I want to share.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have that page pulled up, so I just wanted to make sure.
I have it. I have it.
Be all set. I see 8 and I will let you know when we're. So the replay is actually going to be up on the Facebook page.
Yes, we'll leave the replay up on the Facebook page, and yeah, and we can send it out to our people, our people
that attended this.
Yes, I know. I keep typing weird things in our communications, and it sounds like. Oh, I won't go there. All right, good. Hold on, I'm almost there, Cindy. Okay, I'm pushing buttons, Cindy. We should be good to go in just a second.
Says you're live.
Yay, all right, good. Hi, you all. I am doing a special live broadcast. We're going to be talking about questions that people have posted based on information that I covered in a class that I taught in February about human design and sexuality. The reason why I love to talk about this information is that sex and sexuality is a supercharged topic, particularly when we talk about it in the context of everything. You know, we talk about sex and we talk about marketing. And even if we don't know we're talking about sex, we're talking about sex when we talk about marketing. We're talking about sex when we talk about intimacy. Oftentimes when we're talking about relationships, we're talking about the quality of the sexual connection in partnership. And it is a place where we very much tie together the energy of lovability and self-worth and sexuality. And it is a place where I think societally, and I think even in terms of how we talk about sex from a psychotherapeutic perspective, we have some limits in our understandings if we don't look at the mechanics of how we connect with each other energetically in human design. So as I go through some of these questions that my students have sent in and some that you've posted, I want to first just invite you into a powerful and I think very important perspective. And it's a perspective that, you know, if you don't do this yourself, I promise you society is definitely doing this. And here's the perspective. When it comes to what we consider to be healthy sex and sexuality, or functional sex and sexuality, or what we should be expecting in the context of sex and sexuality, I want to invite you into the idea that maybe it's time we rethink everything about how we define the way we connect with each other sexually. We have some pretty interesting rules about what is right and good, what is moral, and I know that it's a messy dialogue, and I'm certainly not going to sit here and say, oh, these are the things that are right and these are the things that are not right related to sex. But I do want to invite you to drop into a place where you ask yourself, what is good and right for you in terms of sex and sexuality and intimacy? You know, we are in a cycle right now where even the definition of what gender is kind of up for grabs. It's being redefined. And some of us have very sexual needs by design. Some of us not so much. And there's a spectrum of what's available to us, and there's a spectrum of what we're designed for. And if you're not in the place that society tells you you should be on the spectrum, and you start to buy into this idea of maybe you're broken, or maybe you're sexually repressed, or maybe you're over-sexualized, maybe that's not the right question to ask. Maybe the question to ask is, what feels good and right and correct for you? And are you creating that in your partnership? And do you feel safe to communicate your wants and your needs in your partnership? These are really, I think, the more important questions for us to be asking. How can you create a bond in your partnership or partnerships where you feel safe and comfortable to ask for and receive what feels good and right for you, and take a lot of the heavy judgment off of this conversation we have collectively about sex? So that being said, I'm going to move straight to some of the questions that you guys sent in. I have some slides that I want to augment my answers with. So buckle up and stay tuned. We'll get through, I think, some really great questions about what is available to us. Hold on. What is possible for us to be experiencing in the context of intimacy and sex and sexuality. So can you all see this? Cindy, is this showing up?
Yes, I can see.
Awesome. Awesome. So one of the questions that was asked, what are the greatest challenges, we're going to look at this chart, what are the greatest challenges in sexual intimacy for me? So we're going to look at this chart, and this person says, my split is bridged by the gate 53 or the channel 659, and any insights would be fantastic. Okay, so let's pull this up. So let's talk about sex and sexuality and intimacy. And hang on, I am going to talk about what's called splits in the chart, but I'm going to hold on to the question about splits because there's another question about splits below on this slide. And I actually have a whole little slideshow about splits that I want to break away from and show you guys. But here's what really pops out for me in the context of this particular chart. And this might not be your chart, but I invite you to just listen in because I'm going to tackle a whole bunch of different aspects in this chart that may relate to your chart as well. So the first thing can you guys see my cursor moving? Cindy, can you see it moving?
I can see it moving.
All right, good. I don't know if this will save on the recording. Sometimes the cursor doesn't save, but we'll see. So I won't draw because I know the drawings don't save for some reason. So the first thing that really stands out with this person is that this person is a 6-line profile. So any of you, when you look at your profile in your chart, the profile looks like a fraction in your chart. That profile tells us a lot about your bonding energy and what you need in order to create intimacy and even a sexual connection, and how you create sexually in some cases. So the 6-line profile has 3 distinctly different life cycles. So if you're a 6-line profile, your life has 3 distinctly different life cycles. And those life cycles will manifest differently in terms of what you need and want and what feels good and right for you sexually and sensually. The first thing that pops out with this, or the first phase rather, for the 6-line goes from birth to approximately 30 years of age. That life cycle is a very youthful life cycle. It's an experiential life cycle. It is a time when the 6-line profile in your, and this is true, by the way, for anybody that's also a 3rd-line profile. So if you're a 1-3 or a 3-5, if you're a 6-3, if you're a 6-2, if you're a 4-6, if you're 3-6, if you have a 3 or a 6 in your profile, this will apply to you if you are 30 or younger. Actually, this will apply for all the 3rd lines for your whole life, but for the 6 lines, if you're 30 and younger. There is, first of all, during this first cycle, a tendency to fall in love at first sight. And that falling in love at first sight piece can be super intense, and you can think in that moment, oh, this is my soulmate. Because the 6th line longs for a soulmate partnership, and that's part of the sex and the intimacy drive for the 6th line. So in that youthful phase, from birth to 30, The sixth line has a tendency to fall in love at first sight. Usually it's not the right partner. And then they're disappointed or confused, or disappointed and confused, probably the best words. Disappointed and confused because after a certain point in time, even though you have this intense connection with this person, you realize pretty quickly that, oh, hey, that's not actually the right partnership. And there's, there's pain or loss or just, as I said, confusion. The second cycle that the sixth line goes through goes from 30 to approximately the age of 50. Now, two things will happen. If you got married or you created a deep, longer-term bond in the first cycle of your life, in your youth, when you go into this second phase of your life cycle, we call this second phase being on the roof. When you go into the second phase of being on the roof, you take your partner with you. So your partner might or might not like being taken with you, because what happens is during the second cycle, everything kind of goes down to the pilot light. That second cycle of life for the sixth line profile, that being on the roof from 30 to age 50, is all about healing. It's all about learning. It's all about integrating all the experiences you had in your youth. And it's a foundation laying cycle that leads up to the third cycle, which is when you actually emerge at the age of 50 as a role model. But during that second cycle, the being on the roof cycle, sometimes the energy for sex goes down to the pilot light too. It's hard sometimes when you're in this deep, inner, integrative, healing, exploratory, foundation-laying cycle that the sixth line goes through. It's hard sometimes to have the energy for sex and for intimacy and connection with that same quality of spark that maybe you had in the first cycle of your life. And so sometimes when you're a sixth line profile in this second cycle, you really have to struggle to create the energy for intimacy, and partnership has to be genuinely meaningful. And if you're single during that cycle, you might find that you don't really even have the energy to engage in partnership. Maybe you long for that soulmate, but you also don't want to be bothered with things like dating. The dating can feel exhausting and excruciating, and the whole process of getting to know someone just feels like, oh, that's too much. That's not an unusual way to feel if you're a sixth line profile on the roof and you're single. When you go into the third cycle, and you'll start to really feel the momentum pick up about 48 to 52, you go into this third cycle that is the final emergence of the sixth line into their mature expression as a role model. At that point in time, if you don't have a soulmate partnership, that's usually when you'll attract it. If you've been in a longer term partnership and you know that it's not the right partnership and you've been wrestling with it for a while, it's usually at that point in time where you start to release that partnership and create an opening for a partnership that's more in harmony with your sixth line energy, your soulmate longing. It's also a time when that pilot light starts to come back and you start to feel a deeper connection and even a deeper fire around the energy for sex and sexuality and intimacy. And so, when you ask the question, what do I need to do to increase the intimacy? The one thing I don't have on this chart is I don't know what life cycle you're in. Whoever I don't want to say names too much, but Zane, if you're in the second cycle, it may be that it's not so much that you're not creating intimacy as much as it is maybe you don't have the energy for intimacy. And if you're in that third phase, maybe you're ready to recreate that fire of intimacy that you had in your youth. So that's the first part about this chart. Life cycle for the sixth line is important. Okay. If you're a third line profile, by the way, not a sixth line, if you're a third line profile, everything that I said about the youthful expression of the six, that whole falling in love at first sight, jumping in full on into a partnership, and then 2 weeks later waking up and going, oh my God, what have I done? Okay. That is something that can sometimes last for you over the course of a lifetime. So if you are a third line profile in partnership, your mantra needs to be slow and steady wins the race. Meaning don't make any big decisions or any huge commitments around your partnership until you give yourself time, like years, to really feel your way into, is this the right partnership for me? Otherwise you may find that you're backpedaling and not really following through on commitments that maybe you wanted to make, but you figured out wasn't the right commitment. Second thing that's going on in this chart. When we look at this chart, one of the most, well, first of all, there's a split in this chart. And I'm just going to point it out, and then I'll go back and talk about splits in a little bit. But if you look at this chart, you'll see that the ajna, the green triangle, is connected to the throat, that the throat is connected to the yellow diamond, the G center. The G center is connected to the sacral center, the red square. But if you took a pencil, you could actually literally draw a circle here around this group of energies, because these energies are not connected to these energies down here. The solar plexus on the right and the root center, you could actually draw another circle around these two groups of energies. That's called a split. Now, anytime you have a split in your chart, it means that you have, or to feel like to you, like you have different aspects of your personality that almost feel so distinctly different and disconnected from each other. It can make you feel like you're a super complex person, and that it takes a very special kind of a relationship for you to connect with someone and connect all these different facets of how you feel yourself to be. Now, in this particular chart, I'm not so worried about the splits as I might be in another chart, because this is the chart of a manifesting generator. This red square here, the sacral, is the most powerful motor in the body. And if we followed all the colored in energies from the sacral up to the throat, we would see that this person has a direct connection from a motor to the throat, which means that in partnership, you want partnership, you love partnership, but you don't need somebody else to hook your chart up to gain access to energy. And that's very important. So if you are a manifestor type or a manifesting generator type, that means that in partnership, and this is a very loaded word, so roll with me on this. In partnership, you don't need a partner. That doesn't mean you don't want a partner, but you don't need a partner. And so if you are a manifestor or a manifesting generator, you might never find yourself saying things like other people say, like, oh, I love you so much, you complete me, okay? Because you don't need anybody to complete you, because you already have energy to the throat, thank you very much. And so you don't need to get into relationships with people to hook up your energy for the sake of being heard, being seen, or getting things done. So if you are a manifestor and a manifesting generator, or if you're in relationship with a manifestor or manifesting generator, be aware that your partner may not need you, or that you don't need partnership the way your partner might need to. If you're a generator, a projector, or a reflector, because you don't have a motor to the throat by definition, you need people to bring you the energy connections to help you gain access to the energy for doing. And so your dynamic in partnership is a little bit different, because you do need partners. And you need partners because your partners are going to give you access to energy, or your connections that you make with your partners are going to give you access to energy, and they're going to make you feel complete. Okay? As a manifesting generator, Zane, you don't need that. And so it's interesting that it creates a dilemma for you a little bit around being in partnership and creating intimacy, because what might be happening for you is that A, you might be a 6-line profile up on the roof. That might be the other thing that might be happening. And B, you might not realize that you're moving so fast and that you're so into your own ideas and thoughts and creations that maybe you're not talking to your partner, informing your partner about what's going on with you and what you need and want, because you're moving so fast, and you may sort of intuitively be hoping your partner keeps step with you. And secondly, the degree of need that you have around partnership might not be the same that your partner has. And because you have this definite motor to the throat, your needs for intimacy might actually be different than your partner. So all of this can be corrected with dialogue, by having conversations with your partner about what do you need and want. Here's what I need and want. Or can we experiment with this? Can we do that? You know, really having dialogue. The second thing that's important to know, this is the third thing, this is the third thing. Third thing for you to look at is your fourth line profile. You're a 4 and a 6, right? Everybody has 2 numbers in their profiles. If you have a 4 in your profile, so that's 4, 1, 1, 4, 2, 4, 4, 6. If you have a 4 in your profile, friendship in your partnership, in your romantic partnership is crucial. It lays the foundation for your partnership. And if you're a 4th line profile in a relationship where there's no friendship, or, and this is the other huge, huge deal, or you don't trust your partner. Maybe your partner has criticized you, which in this case with this chart, because you have this channel 1-8 here, Zane, you are very vulnerable to criticism. And if anybody's ever criticized you, you might find that you've abandoned the relationship or you're hiding out in the partnership because you're too afraid to be vulnerable again. So the 4th line needs friendship and the 4th line needs trust. And if you don't have those 2 pieces in place, it can affect intimacy. The 4th thing in this chart, if you look at this definition down the middle of the chart, you have a lot of what's called individual circuitry. Individual circuitry is circuitry that's either in the knowing circuit, the centering circuit, or the integration circuit, okay? I will post an image of those 3 circuits on the Facebook page later, or Cindy can post them. If you have a lot of knowing circuit, or even a channel in the knowing circuit in your chart, the knowing circuit or individual circuitry, the knowing circuit is part of individual circuitry, can make you kind of oblivious sometimes to the intimacy needs of relationship. You're off doing your own thing. You're kind of, you know, a single operating unit within your own inner experience and your own inner process. So this part of your split, because you have a split in this chart, this part of your split is very much of, I'm going to go do my own thing. Thank you very much. You're not consciously necessarily thinking that, but that's just, you're moving in that flow of doing your own thing. And you might be forgetting sometimes to bring your partner along with you. And because of this individuality, it might feel to your partner, especially, as if you don't care. You're just off doing your own thing. And caring and even romance, all of that might not be the most natural expression for you. However, and this is where it gets very interesting for you, Zane. In your split, you have this 1949 channel down here connecting the root center, the square at the bottom, to the solar plexus at the right. This is the channel of intimacy. This is the place where we have the emotional, intuitive awareness of what's necessary for us to create intimacy, true intimacy, not just sexuality, but togetherness, right? Into me, see, let's see into me, and let's be together. This is a deeply bonding and binding energy, but it's in direct contrast to this individuality in your chart. So you have sort of this push me, pull you energy in this chart that says, I want to be in partnership, but I want to do my own thing. And the one thing that's going to really connect this all up for you is this gate 53. When you come into partnership with people and they bring you the gate 53, and I promise you, you're probably super attracted to this gate 53. If you come into partnership with someone and they have this 53 energy, that connects all of this energy together, and all of a sudden, zing, zap, zowie, pop, you've got access to not only the freedom that you need to go do what you need to do, but also the energy for intimacy. So I would say find a partner with a 53, but that's me joking, because I really tell people, go fall in love with the people you fall in love with. Don't fall in love with people's charts. Don't go asking me, hey, should I date this chart? Date the person you love, all right? You can work out the chart details later. But certainly the 53 would connect that. And let me just say this, because there's a split here, if you get into a partnership where that split doesn't get bridged, it doesn't mean you can't be intimate, and it doesn't mean you can't also be yourself. But again, I would say for you, number one, you're a generator type. Ask yes or no questions, and make sure your partner asks you yes or no questions. That's going to help you discover what you need and want. Number two, you need a partner that is going to understand that for you to create intimacy, you also need freedom. You need both. You need to have the space to go do your own thing, because when you feel free to do that, you're much more able to connect. And when you have that connection, you also feel more free to go do your own thing. You're within the context of your partnership, you have to find that balance. And of course, because you have that fourth line energy, you can create that balance through establishing a strong bond and a strong connection that's rooted in friendship and rooted in trust. So there also is for you probably a call to be courageously brave about and vulnerable, asking for what you need and want, and not letting your fear of being vulnerable, because there's a fear of being vulnerable in this chart, keep you from having the courage to take a bold stand to ask for what you need and want. And if your partner can't be available for you for that, then stay friends with your partner and don't let that partnership become a romantic partnership, because you can absolutely have and deserve both. All right, good. Okay, Cindy, questions are popping up. Yes, is there anything I need to address?
Well, there was, let's see. Okay, Rebecca, is someone equally to fully open channels to connect a split equally, even if there's no hanging gates?
Okay, let me go jump ahead to this question, then come back to splits. Oh, yeah.
But just keeping track of time?
Yes, I'm seeing that. I know that. Let me find the question about splits. All right, I'm just going to go quickly to the thing about splits. So hang on a sec. Hang on.
Okay, go on, Rebecca.
All right. Okay, so let's talk for just a second about what is a split and how do splits affect relationships. So, oops. What the heck just happened? So here is the human design chart. Okay, these are the centers in the chart. The centers are responsible for processing specific energies in the chart. Hold on. I have to move this over because I can't see the chart. If you have groups of centers connected to each other but disconnected from each other, you have what's called a split. So this is obviously a super obvious split definition. Here you have two groupings of centers connected but not connected to each other. Anytime you have a split, it means that the relationships that feel, or the connections that feel yummiest to you, are the connections that bridge your splits, meaning that connect your splits. If you're in a partnership that doesn't connect your split, it is always going to feel like there's an aspect of yourself that doesn't quite get to be seen or experienced in your partnership. That doesn't mean your partner doesn't see you, okay? And this is the most important piece to understand. It's not that your partner doesn't see you or get you. It's that it feels like your partner doesn't see you and get you because of the split in your chart. So it's never about your partner not seeing you or not getting you. It's about recognizing that because of the splits in your energy, it's going to feel that way and it's not personal. And if you can really get, oh, hey, I have a split in my chart. So when I engage in partnership, whether it's friendships, whether it's business partnerships, whether it's romantic partnerships, whether it's family members, there is oftentimes a feeling like, oh, there's this part of me that this person doesn't see. And again, it might not be that they don't see it, but they might not connect to it energetically, so it doesn't get drawn out into relationship as part of the relationship all the time. So again, if you can go, okay, that's not personal, they're not ignoring me, they're not ignoring an aspect of myself, it's just there's this piece that's not being connected with. You can get access to energy that connects that in public but private spaces. So let's say if there's an important part of your energy that you really want to talk about or bring out or connect with, and you feel like, oh, I'm not getting that in my partnership, take your partner to a coffee shop, because you'll probably, in the collective aura of the coffee shop, find that energy that connects you, and you'll be able to access that aspect of yourself more easily.
So before you go on, Rebecca rephrased her question. So she was wondering, if there's no hanging gate, can a defined channel in the other person's chart connect your split?
Yes, totally. Absolutely. But because half a gate acts like a little magnet, usually you're going to be more easily attracted to the person of the other half of the gate, because it's just the nature of how that attraction works. But you can absolutely be in partnership with people who bridge your splits with a channel and not a gate. Just the gates are usually more powerful in how they attract. You can have a single split, you can have up to a triple split or a quadruple split in your chart. The more splits you have, the more you need to be, first of all, in relationships with larger groups of people, because you need to be with more people to bridge your splits. If you have a lot of splits, a triple or a quadruple split in your chart, it is going to leave you feeling like there's not anybody who gets me. Nobody on this planet gets me, because it's rare that you find a partnership that bridges all of the different splits that you have. Again, the most important piece to understand is it's not your partner not seeing you. They're not doing this to you. It's that you have a highly complex energy field that has a lot of different parts, and that those different parts will get played out potentially in different relationships, in different arenas. And if you happen to find a partner that does bridge all of your splits, that usually feels pretty darn good. And those can be compelling partnerships. Those can be those fatal attraction kinds of things, because energetically it feels so yummy to get all your bridges split. All your splits bridged, not all your bridges split. Keep your bridges together, join your splits, okay? Bridge your splits. But, and this is the part that I really want to bring out before you answer any questions. Your relationship has to be a relationship where your partner loves you and values you, who accepts you for who you are. And you can have a relationship that has the crappiest human design configuration, that has the worst electromagnetic configurations, that doesn't bridge any of your splits, and it can be a beautiful partnership because your partner loves you and because your partner values you. You can be compelled and profoundly attracted to someone who bridges your split, who's a jerk. Okay? Don't let the dynamics of the electricity of a connection allow you to slip into a relationship that isn't worthy of who you are. You can, with the right awareness and understanding, with the right dynamics of what's going on in the mechanics of your relationship, understand it and create a loving partnership, even if you don't have anything that theoretically, if I looked at 2 charts, that theoretically would attract you at all. Love is not just about attraction. It's just the attraction that brings us together initially. Love is way bigger than human design. So don't let human design charts make you go, oh, I'm not dating this person, he has a bad chart. That could be the love of your life, with maturity and with heart-based connections that go beyond human design and attraction. Okay. All right, back to our questions. Yes? I know I took a long time on that last one, but there's a lot to say about it. Hang on. Okay.
So was that answering one of the questions?
That was answering some of the questions. Okay. So, okay. All right. In this chart, what stands out? Okay, so the first thing that stands out is that this is a person, Megan, this is a person, is a second line profile. If you have a 2 in your profile, you need alone time even in your partnership. So if you don't get alone time in your partnership and space to get out of the energy of your partnership for you to regenerate and take care of yourself and to rest and restore yourself, which is important for you, not only because you have a 2, but because you have a defined will center, you will go nutso. Okay, so you need to have alone time in your partnership. The most important thing for you in terms of recognizing what's going on with your chart is you have a split, you've got this split, and then you've got this split, and you don't have any definition up to the throat. So for you, one of the things that's really important is you need a partner who can call you out so that you can talk about and access all of this energy, because otherwise it's hard for you to talk about yourself and what you need and want. So find a partner that understands that you are a generator, that is bold enough and willing enough to call you out and to ask you yes or no questions. That's super, super important for you. In the context of relationship, you have a lot of energy that is about caring. You're a great partner by design, provided that you stay in line with the integrity of what's good and right for you. You cannot tolerate, you cannot abide by anything that's out of integrity. You have a built-in bullshit detector. Let me just call it that. This channel here makes you a living bullshit detector. And if you're in partnership with someone who's not being honest, and your inner spidey sense is saying, ooh, this doesn't feel right, trust yourself. Because you have an open G center, and the tendency is for you to fall in love with people's potentials. Anytime you have an open G center, you can feel the potential of someone, and it's easy for you to fall into a relationship with someone's potential. Watch with your eyeballs. What is this person doing? They feel beautiful, but everybody feels beautiful for you. So watch what they're doing, watch with your eyeballs, make sure they're walking their talk, make sure they're aligned with their integrity. And if it doesn't feel good and it smells bad and everything's off and your skin is crawling and you're getting tinglies and your inner gut is just saying, something's off, trust yourself. Okay? That's my key for you. Your strength is your ability to endure and to genuinely love and appreciate and nurture someone. You have a great, great heart and a great level of capacity to care. Care for the right person. Don't care for jerks. Okay. Isabel, I did cover the talk about splits. And okay, and then I've been looking at the charts of 3 significant past loves, and I've noticed a clear trend. They're all projectors with a defined spleen and a defined gate 19. Yes, the defined spleen is often attracted to the undefined spleen. That's a good pattern. I would say if you're a manifesting generator and you're attracting projectors, it might be, and this is a cool but weird thing, okay? We have a tendency to inherit our relationship patterns from our grandparents, and we have a tendency to be attracted to people who feel energetically familiar to us. So Isabel, the first thing that I would say for you is, while you're running all these charts for past loves, see if you can run the charts for your parents and your grandparents. Because what you might see is that you are either dating your parents or dating your grandparents' energy design. That's probably more specifically what's going on. I do find that manifesting generators are sometimes attracted to projectors. And it is an attraction and a connection that takes a lot of wisdom to be able to navigate in a healthy and fun and beautiful, respectful way. Okay? So I would say that, that whole manifesting generator not needing partners and projectors needing partners and projectors being really good at managing things, it's actually can be a great, great partnership between a manifesting generator and projector, but you have to handle it correctly. So the other part is, I believe there was a question there about splits, and I think I answered your question about splits, Isabel. All right, so next question. Aylin says, my sacral has only 59 as a sexual gate, and I heard that 59, the 5, the 55, okay, that there's projection. Okay, so let's talk about where projection is in your chart. This channel, 4130, can create projection. That's really where it's happening for you. And also in the unconscious 5th line profile. So if you have a 5 in your profile, what that means is you are a universal healer, okay? You have a karmic path to be a reflection for others. When you go out into the world, people see in their interaction with you what they need to see to heal themselves. So you're like a karmic mirror, which is beautiful on a global level, not always so easy on a personal level, because what happens sometimes is that people will dump all their junk onto you and not take responsibility for it. And even sometimes blame and accuse you of things that you never even did. It's because of their stuff, not you. So if you can go into the world, go out into the world and go, people are going to see through me what they need to see to heal. I'm walking through the world and I am bringing healing with me everywhere I go because I'm reflecting back to people what they need to see to heal. What that does mean is on a personal level, it takes the right relationship. And for you as a 3-5, because as a 3, you need time to know it's the right relationship or not. If you're in the right relationship, the person you're with will have the right projections. They'll project goodness onto you, the right good things about you, and it'll be a beautiful connection. If you're in the wrong relationship, your partner's going to be glomming all their junk onto you. Run, okay? Now, the second part for you is you have this 4130. This is the channel of fantasy and desire. This can be a very juicy, very sweet, very sexual energy. And there's a lot of play available here, a lot of fantasy and joy here. There's also fantasy here, which means sometimes when you carry this energy, people will project onto you that you made agreements, or that you said you would do this, or that you promised that you would do that. And there can be, if the communication isn't good, breakdown because of fantasy, particularly fantasy conversations. So in partnership, you have to be very, very, very clear about informing. You're a manifesting generator. You need to be informing big time. So you need to be informing, and you need to make sure that if you make agreements in the context of your partnership, write them down. Write them down. Just have a habit in your relationship. You have a communication log, and you're literally writing down things like, I will meet Maria at the coffee shop at 10 o'clock on Tuesday. Because that writing it down avoids some of the energetic confusion that can happen with the fantasy projection in this chart. That's a huge, huge thing for you. The other part here is that you have an open G center, and we talked about that already. There is a tendency here for you to also, because of the fantasy piece, to also have fantasies about people actually fulfilling their potentials. And that's exhausting for you. Okay, so I would say that sense that you have about being naive isn't naive per se. It's that you are intuitive and you sense and feel people's potentials. And so you fall in love with that potential, and you're probably getting into a habit somehow of wanting to coach them into fulfilling their potential. And then you're exhausting yourself because you become your partner's mother, coach, healer, therapist, or whatever. So I'm going to say for you exactly what I said up here. If you are going to get into a longer term committed partnership, you want to set good and clear boundaries. Start first by taking your time. No more love at first sight, ever. Number 2, recognize that you see people's potentials. That's beautiful. Don't date their potential. Date the person that's actually walking their talk. So take your time to really observe. When you go, oh, this person feels so wonderful, they're so gifted. Are they walking their talk and actually manifesting their potential, their gifts in their physical reality? If they're not, run, okay? Otherwise, you're going to get sucked into that same thing again. The other thing is, you are a manifesting generator with a 3420. You can sometimes get too busy to have sex because you're busy over here creating. You need a partnership that allows you to have a balance between the busyness of your creative power and the sex and sexuality aspect of your design. So don't fall in love with people's potential. Take your time, find balance and harmony. And that means sometimes you might have to go somewhere away to be more available to the intimacy part of yourself, so you don't get distracted with all the other things you're creating. All right, next question. I'm a 5-2 emotional manifesting generator, and I recently started connecting with a 5-2 splenic projector with a defined G and will. Ooh. I also have both the 29 and the 9 defined. No surprise, gate 29 has me saying yes, because the gate 29 will have everybody saying yes to everything, especially as this connection feels resonant on many levels. I'm trying to relax into the pace he is setting and allow this connection to unfold without getting ahead of myself, getting caught up in agendas and projections. Do you have any advice to assist with that? Here's what I would say. You have, as you said, a lot of energy for projections. This 2 can be projections, the 5 can be projections. You have a lot of emotional energy. When you have a lot of emotional energy, sometimes it makes you leap into things before you should. So I would say, give yourself the gift of structuring in some significant alone time in your partnership, especially because you have the 15, so you may need extreme cycles of aloneness. Like you might like to really, really be together and then need really, really alone time. Make sure you're taking alone time in the partnership where you're away from this partner, for you to get a perspective, especially perspective that takes you out of the joy and the juiciness of the defined will and the defined G, and that allows you to settle into the awareness of the right timing. You have the 30, your sun is in the unconscious 30. The capacity here for you to burn so intensely in your partnership and to be so intense can be overwhelming, especially to a projector. So alone time, space, away will help you calibrate some of the pressure and the speed. I am a 3-5 manifestor. My husband is a 1-3 generator. I'm wondering what the signs are of burnout for me. Oh, burnout. You can be burned out. Let me see if I can find, you know what? Hang on. I'm going to answer the rest of the questions and I'll try to finish up with the questions around burnout. The Me Too movement, I don't know if I've addressed the Me Too movement, but here's what I would say. The Me Too movement to me is not about human design. It's about healing. And the truth, and the truth is the direction that we take ourselves in life is defined by the G center. And one of the gates on the G center, the gate 13, is the gate of storytelling. It's the place where we hold the stories of what has happened to us in the past. And those stories give direction to our future momentum. If we stay stuck in stories that are rooted in trauma and we are not able to express those stories, to talk about, here's what happened to me, which is the Me Too movement, right? And we don't have, and because not only do stories give us direction, our sense of empowerment gives us direction. If we have felt disempowered and not capable of telling our story and being heard and seen, it actually limits the potential for our life direction. So the Me Too movement is incredibly powerful and extremely important because it allows people to begin to tell the story so that there's power in the movement of the energy of the story. And from the telling of the story, eventually change the course and the direction that we take in terms of what we create, not just individually, but collectively. So that's all I'm going to say about that. All right. So the two last questions are here. First question says, I've taken several courses and you noted that there's never been a bad chart, that we are all designed to be supported if we are who we are. How does that work when most people in the world are being their authentic selves? I'm going to talk about that in a second. How does that work when there isn't enough time left for the quantum field to align? The quantum field doesn't exist in time. It is timeless, because it's not in the third dimension, it's potential and it's in constant movement. And let me just say that in the quantum field, you can have instantaneous collapse of potential. So there is no such thing as there's not enough time. So anybody that says, oh, there's not enough time, we're this ticking time bomb, there's always enough time, always, okay? And I will address that in just a second. And then somebody wrote, I'd love it if you talk a little bit more about the 360 channel and the changes taking place as they pertain to human design and the charts. That's a whole nother course. That is the solar plexus mutation course. I have done a couple of talks about that. And Cindy, if you want to put links to those, they're in my YouTube channel. And I think there's a couple even on the Human Design for Everyone Facebook page. But I want to end with this last little piece because I think it's important. And if I have time, I'll just quickly wind up with a conversation about burnout, symptoms of burnout. I know where that is. So I'll go find that in a second. So let me just run through this piece, those very quickly, because this is, I think, a really important, hold on, I gotta find the slides that I made. Where did they go? Here. Can you see this, Cindy?
Yes.
Yes, no? Okay, perfect. Okay. There are no bad charts. I will stand by that until the day I leave this planet. There is no such thing as a bad chart, but we are in a very interesting time on this planet. And for you to understand why we are not living out the full potential of our chart is extremely important, because I believe part of our job right now is manifested spirits in form. Part of our job is to clear some of the energy that's available to us on the planet right now, so that maybe not in our generation, but as we clear and move forward and we have children and the world grows and consciousness evolves, we create an environment and energy on this planet that makes it easier and easier for consciousness to continue its expansion and for us to continue to collectively craft a world of sustainable peace, and a world of abundance. But for us to understand why we don't live out the true potential of our chart, first of all, I would say, you look at the human design chart, whether we like it or not, we are designed to struggle as part of our evolution. We have to push against things because it's that pushing against things that helps us discover what genuinely is valuable and what's genuinely worth fighting for and what's worth actually incorporating and adding to the collective consciousness. But the other thing we have to understand is the basic quantum mechanics of creativity. And I'm going to just zip through this quickly. This is a huge body of information that is the foundation of the quantum alignment program. If you want to learn more about this, please either join my upcoming Inside the Body of God intensive, and actually the early bird registration for the Inside the Body of God intensive ends tonight at midnight, or join one of my quantum alignment programs and my quantum alignment activation programs. I actually have a master alignment program coming up in May, which I'll get some more information for you guys on that. But in the master alignment program, we work specifically with this information, and it's super powerful. And it is vital for you to understand this information if you really want to consciously tap into expressing the full potential of your chart. When you are creating, you are drawing on different bodies of information in your energy field. The first body of information that you are creating from is the quantum field, which is literally the unmanifest reality. It is the potential of everything possible in the earthly plane. So in this quantum field, this unmanifest reality, there already exists a you who is fulfilling the maximum potential of your chart. That fully manifested you lives there in potential. And the more you continue to do the work of moving into that fulfilled story of who you are, the more you clear, the more you align, the more you hold the energies for that person, the closer you get to drawing that into your manifested reality. There are lots and lots and lots. It's an unlimited, infinite field of potential. There are lots of potentials of you, lots of potential yous that live in this field. Right now you're manifesting one of them. Hopefully it's not the bad chart version of yourself. Hopefully it's the evolving version of yourself. The other body of information that you draw on when you're creating is called the mental and the emotional body. This is the place where you carry your conditioning. So this is the energy field that contains the information from all of your past experiences, the beliefs that you have, what your parents taught you. This is where you carry all the information that comes from the pains you've experienced, the joys you've experienced. This is where your epigenetic programming is held. And this is the place where actually your human design is stored. So you actually have this field of information that carries the code for your design, it carries your genetic code, and it carries the energy artifacts of all of the experiences you've had and the beliefs that you hold. You also have a subtle body or an energy template. So if you're familiar with the work of Dr. Rupert Sheldrake, who I will be interviewing next week, if you are familiar with the work of Dr. Rupert Sheldrake, this is the morphogenetic field. If you've ever gotten acupuncture, or if you've used homeopathy, or if you've gotten energy healing, if you've ever used flower essences or essential oils, this is the energy template that holds in place what you're about to manifest in your physical reality, or things in your physical reality that you're about to get rid of. So if you have, let's say, you've been working really hard on a limiting belief about money, maybe you've been using the quantum alignment system and you've been tapping on it, and you've made significant shifts in your mental and your emotional body about your ideas and beliefs about money, and you've been manifesting up until this point struggles with money, and now you've made these shifts, and these struggles with money, because of these shifts that you made, are now leaving your energy field. You know, it leaves through the subtle body template, meaning there's echoes of it in the subtle body energy field, but it's on its way out. Or let's say, terrible case, no, let's go for a good case scenario. Let's say you're about to manifest your soulmate partnership. That soulmate partnership oftentimes twinkles in your energy blueprint. Abraham Hicks calls this your vibrational escrow, right? It's twinkling in your energy blueprint in your subtle body before it actually manifests in your reality, which is the next body of information that you're drawing on when you create. So keeping this super, super simple. When we create, we are drawing infinite potentials out of the quantum field through a filter. That filter consists of your mental and your emotional body, your subtle body, your human design. And that filter is going to influence the meanings you give neutral archetypes, the meanings you give concepts and ideas like, what is a soulmate? And how capable are you? Or how possible is it for you to be loved? And those meanings and all that stuff you have stored in those filters are going to influence the kind of relationship that you are creating right now. The human design chart isn't like, it's not going to say, oh, you're a fireman, or you're a lover, or you're a fighter. It gives you a spectrum of potential in the chart. So if we look at the energy of, say, a hermit, you know, the archetype of a hermit, the hermit's a neutral concept, but a lot of you by design are hermits. You could either be a recluse, that would be a very, you know, unique, potentially low expression of the hermit, right? Or you could be not giving yourself any alone time, and you could be completely overstimulated and whacked out because you're not getting any alone time. The goal in human design is to understand yourself enough to find the harmony point in the middle of, or the high expression of, the archetypes that are contained within your chart. Your chart is just basically a Rolodex of potential human archetypes, and we all have a tendency to, over the course of the story of living our life, play with and experience a handful of archetypes, because to a certain degree we need to limit what we experience in our lifetime, because otherwise it would be too much to create it. We would be overwhelmed. We wouldn't know what to do with the story of our life because it'd be too much. We'd be overstimulated for sure. So your human design chart gives you sort of a set number of archetypes that you usually on a consistent basis are kind of experimenting and exploring over the course of your life. And the more you understand your chart, the more you can start to consciously bring out the harmonious expression of these archetypes instead of living out the painful or the suffering or the repressed or the rebellious aspects of your personality. Now, if I took all those archetypes and I put them into a blender and I mixed them all up and I came out with 9 core drives that all humans need based on the archetypes in the human design chart, I would come up with what I like to call the 9 resiliency keys, okay? The 9 resiliency keys are oftentimes the core drivers that keep us from fulfilling the full expression of our chart. And I believe personally, one of our jobs in life as manifested spirits in form is to clear these 9 key energies, not only for the sake of ourselves and for the sake of our being able to create from a totally different place and being able to activate the full potential of our charts in a joyful and abundant, sustainable way. But I also believe that it's part of our job as warriors of consciousness on the planet right now to clear these energies for ourselves and for the planet so that the whole planet can start to create from a very different point of abundance and sustainability. The 9 resiliency keys are lovability. How lovable do you perceive yourself to be? Empowerment. How powerful do you perceive yourself to be? Courage. How capable are you of understanding the role that fear plays in your life, and how courageous are you when it comes to breaking free from the bondage that fear creates for sometimes? How decisive are you? How do you know how to choose what's right for you? When you know how to create, when you know how to choose what's right for you and you're connected to that, then what you choose is significantly different than when you don't know how to choose. Emotional wisdom and knowing how to use emotional energy as part of your creative process is crucial to being able to create effectively and powerfully in the world. Trusting yourself, when you know how to trust yourself and connect with your own inner wisdom, your capacity to create and to fulfill the potential of your chart goes up exponentially. Vitality, this is burnout. If you're not feeling vital, if you're burned out, it's going to be very difficult for you to manifest the full potential of your chart, because what you really need to do when you're burned out, and there's just no way around this, is rest. If you are not connected with who you really are and you're not fully expressing your authentic self, you will not be manifesting the full potential of your chart. Obviously, and not only that, you'll be compromising who you are in the world, and ultimately you'll burn yourself out. And if you don't recognize and understand the value of the unique role that you play in the cosmic plan, and you don't create a life that is a reflection of that value, meaning if you don't set good boundaries, if you don't ask for what you want and need, if you don't stand in the preciousness of who you are, you will not be able to fulfill the potential of your chart. Now, really quick before I talk about burnout, if you want to learn more about your chart, the channels in your chart, the gates in your chart, aspects of your chart, like what is a split, get my book, Understanding Human Design. You can get it on Amazon. It's going to tell you a whole lot about the human design chart and give you a whole depth of information about the channels, the gates, the circuits, what it all means. And secondly, join me on Friday, April the 27th. I think that's next Friday. In the morning from 9 to 12 Central Time, I believe. We're going to be doing a 4-hour live intensive, and we're going to be talking about what knocks us off course, what keeps us from being the full expression of our authentic self. How do you stay resilient and connected to who you really are when you go out in the world? How do you stay resilient and connected to who you really are in times of massive change? And how do you hold true to yourself and what you need and want, no matter what's going on around you? And Cindy will post the link below on Facebook if you want to register. I think we have like 18 spots left. And again, the early bird discount expires tonight at midnight, and it's regularly a $97 program. You can get it for $47. You also get 10 hours of recorded audio. This is work that's based on my book, Inside the Body of God. You'll also get a copy of the book. So join me because it'll be super fun. All right, really quick. Let me find my Symptoms of Burnout book. Not book. I don't have a book on that yet, but hang on.
There were a couple questions that came up. I mean, I know that we're running.
Go ahead, just wing them while I'm looking.
Okay, going back to the 4426, if you only have the 26, is the integrity need just as important?
Yes, absolutely. If you have either the 44 or the 4426 or the whole channel, truth and integrity are super, super important. And if you're, as I said, you're a living, walking BS detector. And if it doesn't feel right, if it doesn't smell right, if it's not right, trust yourself, because you have a deep inner sense of what's good and right and true for you.
And while you're looking there towards the beginning, there was, when you were talking about the profiles, can this design change if we work on changing? That's what you were just going, I mean,
can your design change?
Well, that's the question. That was the question that came up. But can you?
How you express your design can change. You can choose to live out, or you can consciously work on creating the highest expression of your chart. But your chart itself will not change, ever. But the chart is just a spectrum of possibility. So you have control ultimately over what you choose to live out. Does that make sense?
Yes. And then there was, is there certain profiles that work better in groups? I mean,
yes, 4s, 6s, 4, 5s, and 6s tend to do better in groups. Yes.
And the other profiles do better in?
They need alone time. It's not that they can't do groups, but they need alone time. And let me just say, you're looking at one part of a complex chart. The thing about charts is you can't just say, oh, there's this and it makes this. You're looking at a small piece in the context of a whole, because you can still have somebody that needs alone time, but who is also somebody who is here to go out in the world. And you have to look at the whole context of each individual chart. And if you want to know more about your charts, I certainly would strongly encourage all of you, go get a reading, go to the understandinghumandesign.com page, go find the human design practitioners, go get a reading, because there's nothing, you really have to have, it benefits you tremendously to have somebody really go through your specific chart, because there's nobody else like you on the planet. So, any other questions, Cindy?
I think that's what I've got right now.
I just want to add, one of the questions that came up was, what are the symptoms of burnout? So let's talk about burnout. And then we'll go. Burnout is an energy state that keeps you from being fully engaged in life with joy. It keeps you from moving forward from the past. It keeps you from expressing your authentic potential. It keeps you from making your authentic contribution to the world, and it keeps you from fulfilling your destiny. Physically, if you are burned out, you may feel tired and drained most of the time. You may have a lowered immunity. You might find that you have frequent headaches, back pain, and muscle pain. You might find that you have changes in appetite and sleep habits. Emotionally, if you are burned out, you might be riddled with self-doubt or a sense of failure. You might feel helpless, trapped, or defeated. You might feel detached and alone in the world. You might find that you really battle a loss of motivation. You might find that you have a cynical and a negative outlook on life, and that life gives you, or you may experience, a decreased sense of satisfaction and a sense of accomplishment. Behaviorally, if you are burned out, you might find that you procrastinate, that you have resistance, that you have avoidance, that you shut others out. You might find that you use food, drugs, alcohol, or Netflix to cope. You might take your frustration out on others, and you might fail to show up for work or show up late. Anytime you are experiencing or expressing the not self, meaning anytime you're not being who you are, true to your chart, true to the definition of your chart, you are out of alignment. And anytime you are out of alignment, you are resisting yourself. And anytime you resist yourself, your energy loses its sustainability and its resiliency, and you run the risk of burning yourself out. So those are the symptoms and signs of burnout. And certainly I would say, honestly, in my practice, I would probably boldly say 85 to 95% of my clients, maybe even more, are actually burned out. And that it's burnout that creates the greatest challenge in manifesting the potential of the chart. And there's no way around burnout except to rest and to get connected with the truth of who you are and start crafting a life that is the reflection of that truth. So, all right. So thank you all for joining me. I know we ran over a little bit. I appreciate so much your questions. I hope you learned something new about yourself or your partner or your world. I hope that every day you are creating for yourself bolder and more courageous and more delicious steps towards creating the love, the support, the intimacy, and the connection that you are worthy of in your life. And as always, Cindy, thank you for joining me. And join me tomorrow, 1 p.m. Central, right here, same place on Facebook. And we'll post the Zoom links too on Facebook. Join me tomorrow for the Quantum Alignment Show. We will be talking about Chiron, 1966 to 1980, and going through the Chiron position during those years and looking at how challenges. Yes, yes.
I'm sorry. If they want to be notified that you're going live, if they want to like the Human Design for Everyone page, yes, they'll get a notification when you're going live.
Yes, do that. All right, good. Bye. Thank you, Cindy, as always, for being steadfast and true and holding everything together. Bye.